Hello, we're the History Hikers. I'm Dries,
My name is Jente.
and we're in front of the Abbey of Vauclair,
Yes.
which was founded in the 12th century by none other than.
Bernard of Clairvaux.
And what does the name mean in
Well, the name,
etymology?
etymology. We have to say first that Bernard did a clever trick, because he is Bernard of Clairvaux, and this is Vauclair. So when he founded Clairvaux, that was Clara Vallis. And then he came here and saw it was also a very clear valley, so he called it Vallis Clara, Vauclair.
Not really a lot of inspiration at the time. It was destroyed during the First World War. We're at the Chemin des Dames, which was an important battlefield during the First World War. So the ruins behind us it's ruined since the First World War. Let's show you around. The Abbey of Vauclair is situated in the heart of the forest of Bougainville-Vauclair in the Aisne department in northern France. The abbey is located on the northern side of the Chemin des Dames, a famous battlefield of the First World War. As a result of this location, it was heavily damaged during said war. The ruined remains of the abbey are magnificent nonetheless.
The site of the abbey has been inhabited since the Iron Age. Excavations even brought Neolithic artifacts to light, but the earliest dating structures are attributed to the Celtic Latin III culture from around 190 BC.
In 1134, Saint Bernard of Clairvaux founded the abbey at the request of Barthélemy de Jure, Bishop of Laon. On the site stood an already older church. All the rights and dependencies of the place were ceded to Bernard. On the 23rd of May, 1134, a group of Cistercian monks took possession of the new abbey. Their leader, the Englishman Henry Murdoch, became the first abbot. Supported by gifts from rich families, the abbey quickly prospered.
The archaeological excavations point out that during the 12th century the abbey consisted of a church and a cloister. In the middle of the 13th century the monastery, in a typical Cistercian style, was built. On the 24th of June 1257 it was consecrated. The abbey could now house the growing number of monks. The 13th century also marked the start of a difficult time for the Cistercians. A second church on the grounds was never finished. Somebody has been burning candles.
And so somebody has also written something. How disrespectful. In the second building phase during the 16th century, a new facade was made for the abbey, and they reconstructed the hostel that was destroyed by a fire in 1590. A new mill downstream of the Pont Dam was erected as well. An earlier dovecote was replaced by one in Louis XIV style. This is the red brickwork tower which we found no information while visiting the abbey. But now we do know that it is in fact the dovecote.
The monks of Vauclair had a very extensive library of manuscripts, which they wrote and copied in their scriptorium, the remainder of which are now conserved in the Municipal Library of Laon. Most exceptional of these documents is a letter from St. Bernard to Henry Murdoch, inviting him to quit his job as a professor in England and to embrace monastic life. As mentioned earlier, Henry would eventually become the abbey's first abbot.
Let's not drop this in here. Whoa. The abbey was damaged during the 100 Years' War and the Wars of Religion in the 17th century. The soldiers demolished, burned and looted a little, but nothing serious. The abbey always recovered.
Next to Vauclair, a small parish was established, which is rare for an abbey. And that's not all. In the Cahier de Doléances, a list of grievances just before the Revolution, the inhabitants asked that the monks remain. This is considered an anomaly because by accumulating land, the abbeys usually created hostility in population, which seems not to be the case in Vauclair. However, during the French Revolution, the abbey's properties was sold just as elsewhere. The abbey was used as a stone quarry for neighboring farmers.
The abbey buildings continued decaying until they found themselves in the middle of one of the greatest conflicts of the 20th century, the First World War. As we said, the abbey was located along the Chemin des Dames battlegrounds and was subjected to heavy bombardments during the war. Almost all remaining buildings were completely destroyed during that war. Here you can see a photo from the war of German soldiers next to one of the abbey buildings before it got bombed.
In 1966, a young Belgian Jesuit, Père René Courtois, who lived next to the abbey from that year onwards until his death in 2005, started archaeological excavations around the abbey. More than 200 European students volunteered in this project. The site was subsequently made a historical monument in 1970. Père Courtois also started a herb garden on the abbey lands, a nod to the Cistercian herb gardens from history. It consists of apple and pear trees and over 400 species of medicinal herbs.
We are leaving the Abbey of Vauclair. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, me too. But I do have a soft spot for Cistercian abbeys, so...
Not Benedictine abbeys?
Also, but...
Abbeys in general?
Abbeys in general, but Cistercian are really nice.
Yeah, it was nice ruins. I mean, no information about it. Just a little sign at the front.
Yeah, you have to guess yourself
What
which spaces there are. And only the church we're really kind of certain.
Yeah, like the tower behind us, we have no idea.
Nope. No clue.
But that's the entrance, I'm thinking. Anyway, we were the history hikers. We share the Abbey love as well, sometimes.
And if you have enjoyed watching, like, comment, subscribe, and all that good YouTube stuff.
Do it, baby. Goodbye.
Bye.